In this video, we'll study about the nuclei, functional component and the distribution of the cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Out of these, the first 2 pair arises from the forebrain and the last 10 pairs from the brainstem. The cranial nerves are named and designated by Roman numerals in the rostrocaudal sequence, that is in the order from before backwards in which they are attached to the brain. The first cranial nerve is the olfactory nerve. So this is the olfactory nerve. And the second cranial nerve is the optic nerve. So these two cranial nerves are attached to the forebrain. The third cranial nerve is the oculomotor nerve. The fourth cranial nerve is the trochlear nerve. The fifth cranial is the trigeminal nerve. The sixth one is the abducer nerve. The seventh one is the facial nerve. And the eighth one is the vestibulocochlear nerve. The ninth nerve is the glossopharyngeal nerve. The 10th is the vagus nerve. The 11th is the accessory nerve. And the 12th is the hypoglossal nerve. So these are the cranial nerves, the 12 pairs of cranial nerves from before backwards. Now we'll see the morphological classification of the cranial nerves. The cranial nerves can be classified into following 3 morphological groups. Those supply the muscles which are derived from the cranial myotomes, that is the oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, abducer nerve and hypoglossal nerve. Again I repeat, the third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve, the fourth cranial nerve, trochlear nerve, the sixth cranial nerve, the abducer nerve and the 12th cranial nerve, the hypoglossal nerve. So these nerves supply the muscles derived from the cranial myotomes. The next group is those that supply the muscles derived from the branchial arches or pharyngeal arches, namely the trigeminal nerve, the fifth cranial nerve, the facial nerve, the seventh cranial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve, the ninth cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve and the accessory nerve, the 11th cranial nerve. So these nerves supply the muscles derived from the branchial arches or pharyngeal arches. The third group is those are associated with special sense organs, namely the olfactory nerve, the first cranial nerve, the optic nerve, the second cranial nerve and the vestibulocochlear nerves. So these are associated with special sense organs. A cranial nerve which consists of motor fibers, so they are motor nerve, which consist of sensory fibers, they are sensory nerve. When they have both motor and sensory fibers, they are called as the mixed nerve. So when you see the development of the functional column and the nuclei of the cranial nerves. So during the development of the spinal cord, due to the appearance of the longitudinal groove, that is the sulcus limitans, the lateral wall of the neural tube is divided into 2 parts or laminae. A dorsal laminae which is known as the dorsal alar lamina and a ventral basal lamina. The cells of the basal lamina are motor while those of the alar lamina are sensory in function. The cells of each of these 2 lamina gets arranged into 2 longitudinal columns, the somatic and visceral column. The visceral component lie close to the sulcus limitans. Thus, there are 4 functional components or column in the lateral wall of the spinal cord. From ventral to dorsal, you have the general, somatic, efferent. Efferent is motor. So, somatic, general, somatic efferent. Then you have general, visceral efferent. Likewise, in the dorsal alar part, you have the general, visceral, afferent. Afferent is sensory. So general visceral afferent, then you have the general somatic afferent column. So the four columns from ventral to dorsal are the general somatic afferent column, then you have the general visceral afferent, then you have the general visceral afferent, and then you have the general somatic afferent. So the ventral part or afferents and the dorsal part are afferents because it is sensory and these are motor. And the visceral component lie close to the sulcus limitans. During the development of the hindbrain, two significant events occur. The neural tube widens to form the fourth ventricle. As a result, the alar lamina are splayed apart like opening a book. So if you see, it's like a opening of a book. So the functional component undergoes a directional change from ventrodorsal to mediolateral. Then the next important event is you have an extra branchial, that is the special column which appears between somatic and the visceral columns in both the basal and the alar laminae to supply the derivatives of the pharyngeal arches. Apart from this, an extra special somatic column appears in the most lateral part of the alar lamina to receive the sensation of hearing and balance. Thus, there are 7 functional columns in the brainstem from medial to lateral. They are the general somatic afferent, then you have the special visceral afferent, then you have the general visceral afferent. So these form the motor column. Again I repeat, so these center one is the special one. On either side you have the somatic and visceral. So they are the general somatic afferent, then you have the special visceral afferent, then you have the general visceral afferent. So these are motor columns. When you go to the sensory columns, you have the general visceral afferent, then you have the special visceral afferent, then you have the general somatic afferent. The last lateral most is the special somatic afferent column. So these 4 forms the sensory columns. As the development proceeds, these columns differentiate into one or more discrete cranial nerve nuclei. Thus, in total, there are 7 functional components to which the fibers of the cranial nerve may belong. First is the general somatic afferent fibers, which arises from the nuclei of the general somatic afferent column, and they supply the muscles of the limbs and the body wall, which develops from somites. The next column is the special visceral or branchial afferent fibers. So these fibers arise from the nuclei of the special visceral or branchial afferent column, and they supply the striated muscles which develops from the branchial or pharyngeal arches, namely the muscles of the facial expression, the muscles of the palate, pharynx and larynx. Then you have the general visceral afferent fibers. So these fibers arise from the nuclei of general visceral afferent column, and they supply the glands and the smooth muscles of the vessels and the viscera. So these fibers form the cranial outflow of the parasympathetic nervous system. The fourth fiber is the general visceral afferent fibers. They carry the general sensation like sense of distension and ischemia from the viscera, namely the lung, heart, the upper part of the GIT and associated glands to the general visceral afferent column. Then you have the special visceral or branchial afferent fibers which carry the special sensation of taste from the tongue to the nuclei of the special visceral afferent column. So this is because the epithelium of the tongue, including the taste bud, develops from the endoderm, that is the viscera. The sixth fibers are the general somatic afferent fibers which carry the general sensations like pain, touch and temperature from the skin, and proprioceptive sensation like vibration, muscle and joint senses to the nuclei of general somatic afferent column. The last group of fibers are the special somatic afferent fibers which carry the special sensation of hearing and equilibrium to the nuclei of the special somatic afferent column. So this is because the organ concerned with these sensations develop from the ectoderm of the body wall. That's why somatic. So here we'll see the efferent nuclei alone. So first we'll see the general somatic efferent nuclei. The general somatic efferent nuclei supply the striated muscles of somatic origin. So in this you have the oculomotor nerve nucleus. So this is the oculomotor nerve nucleus. So the oculomotor nucleus is located in the central gray matter of the midbrain at the level of the superior colliculus. So this is the superior colliculus. At the level of the superior colliculus, you have the oculomotor nucleus which is located in the central gray matter of the midbrain, ventral to the cerebral aqueduct at the level of the superior colliculus. The next nucleus is the trochlear nucleus. The trochlear nucleus is located in the central gray matter of the midbrain, ventral to the cerebral aqueduct, close to the midline at the level of the inferior colliculus. So this is the inferior colliculus. At the level of the inferior colliculus, you have the trochlear nucleus. It is just caudal to the oculomotor nucleus, and its ventral aspect is closely related to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. The third general somatic nucleus is the abducens nerve nucleus. So this is the abducens nerve nucleus. The abducens nucleus is located in the lower part of the pons beneath the facial colliculus in the floor of the fourth ventricle, a short distance from the median plane, in the line with the nuclei of the third, fourth cranial nerves above and the hypoglossal nerve below. So they lie in a line. So this is a transverse section of the midbrain at the level of the superior colliculus. Here you can see this is the oculomotor nucleus. So this pink color is the oculomotor nucleus. So this oculomotor nucleus is located in the central gray matter, ventral to the aqueduct. So this is the aqueduct. So it lies ventral to the aqueduct at the level of the superior colliculus. This is a transverse section of the midbrain at the level of the inferior colliculus. So when you see here, this is the trochlear nerve nucleus. So it is situated in the central gray matter, ventral to the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the cerebral aqueduct. It lies ventral to the cerebral aqueduct, close to the midline at the level of the inferior colliculus. It is just caudal to the oculomotor nucleus, and its ventral aspect is related to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. The fibers from each trochlear nucleus, they course dorsally and then medially around the central gray matter to reach the cranial end of the superior medullary velum, where they decussate to emerge on the lateral side of the frenulum veli on the dorsal aspect of the midbrain. The trochlear nerve fibers have an unusual course, and this is the only cranial nerve which emerges from the dorsal aspect of the brainstem. It has been suggested that this nerve originally supplies the muscles of the pineal eye, which would account for its dorsal course. When you see the unique features of the trochlear nerve is the smallest and most slender cranial nerve. It decussate before emerging from the midbrain, and it is the only cranial nerve which emerges from the dorsal aspect of the brainstem. This is the transverse section of the lower pons. So here you can see this is the abducer nucleus. So it is located in the lower part of the pons beneath the facial colliculus in the floor of the fourth ventricle, a short distance from the median plane, in a line with the third, fourth cranial nerves above and the hypoglossal nerve below. And here you can see this is a medial longitudinal fasciculus. It is closely related to its ventromedial aspect. The fibers from the abducer nerve, they pass ventrally downward through the reticular formation, and then intersects the trapezoid body and the medial lemniscus, and they traverse the basilar part of the pons to emerge at the junction of the pons and the pyramid of the medulla. The abducer nucleus supplies the lateral rectus muscle of the eyeball. The cells in the reticular formation adjacent to the abducer nucleus, they constitute the para-abducent nucleus, which functions as the center for lateral gaze. So these cells, they send the fibers to the ipsilateral abducer nucleus through the medial longitudinal fasciculus and to those cells of the contralateral oculomotor nucleus that supply the medial rectus muscle. The action of the medial and lateral recti are thus coordinated for the horizontal movement of the eye. The next nucleus is the hypoglossal nucleus. So this red one is the hypoglossal nucleus. It is an elongated column consisting of motor cells like those of the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. It extends throughout the length of the medulla oblongata in the paramedian plane. The upper part of the nucleus lie deep to the hypoglossal triangle in the floor of the fourth ventricle, and the medial longitudinal bundle lies immediately ventral to it. In the closed part of the medulla, the nucleus lie in the central gray matter ventral to the central canal. This is the transverse section of the medulla oblongata. Here you can see this is the open part of the medulla oblongata which forms the floor of the fourth ventricle, and here you can see the nucleus. So this lies deep to the hypoglossal triangle in the floor of the fourth ventricle, and this is the medial longitudinal bundle which lies immediately ventral to it. In the closed part, so this is the transverse section of the closed part. So here you can see this is the hypoglossal nerve nucleus, and this nucleus lies in the central gray matter ventral to the central canal. So the fibers of the hypoglossal nerve, they course ventrally lateral side of the medial lemniscus. So this is a medial lemniscus, lateral side of the medial lemniscus. They emerge on the ventral aspect of the medulla as a series of about 12 rootlets in the sulcus between the pyramid and the olive to form the hypoglossal nerve. Next we'll see the special visceral or branchial efferent nuclei. The special visceral efferent nuclei, they supply the striated muscles which are derived from the branchial or pharyngeal arches. So the first nucleus is the motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. The motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve is situated in the upper part of the pons in its dorsal region medial and just cranial to the chief sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. The fibers from the motor nucleus, they constitute the motor root of the trigeminal nerve, which emerges on the ventral aspect of the pons medial to the sensory root. This is the transverse section of the upper part of the pons. Here you can see this is the motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. It is situated in the upper part of the pons in its dorsal region, medial and just cranial to the chief sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. The fibers from the motor nucleus, they constitute the motor root of the trigeminal nerve, which emerge through the ventral aspect of the pons medial to the sensory root. The motor root crosses the superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone and passes posterior to the trigeminal ganglion. Then it passes through the foramen ovale and immediately joins the sensory root of the mandibular nerve. The next special visceral efferent nuclei is the nucleus of the facial nerve. So this is the nucleus of the facial nerve. It is situated in the lower part of the pons in the ventrolateral as part of the tegmentum, more or less in line with the motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Its position is anterolateral and caudal to the abducens nucleus. So this is the transverse section of the lower part of the pons. So here you can see this is the facial nerve nucleus. It is situated in the lower part of the pons, ventrolateral part of the tegmentum. It lies in the line with the motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Its position is anterolateral and caudal to the abducens nerve nucleus. It lies medial to the nucleus of the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. The fibers arising from the nucleus, they pursue an aberrant course. First they course dorso-medially towards the floor of the fourth ventricle to loop behind the motor nucleus of the abducens nerve. The loop, this is the internal genu of the facial nerve. This elevates the floor of the fourth ventricle and forms the facial colliculus, and they course then ventrolaterally between the nucleus of their origin and the nucleus of the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve, and they emerge through the pontomedullary junction on the ventral aspect of the brainstem lateral to the emergence of the abducens nerve. The next nucleus we'll see is the nucleus ambiguus. So this is the nucleus ambiguus. The nucleus ambiguus is an elongated column of typical motor neuron which extends throughout the length of the medulla. The nucleus ambiguus is so named because it is not clearly defined in the sections of the medulla. It occupies a position dorsal to the inferior olivary nucleus and ventromedial to the nucleus of the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. The fibers from the nucleus, they first directed dorsally and then they turn sharply into the ventrolateral direction to mingle with the fibers of the 9th, 10th and the 11th cranial nerve, which emerges through the medulla along the posterolateral sulcus. The fibers from the nucleus ambiguus supply the muscles derived from the 3rd, 4th and 6th branchial arches. Next we'll see about the general visceral efferent nuclei. So the cells of these nuclei, they give origin to the preganglionic fibers that constitute the cranial parasympathetic outflow. So these fibers, they end in the peripheral parasympathetic ganglion, and the postganglionic fibers arising from these ganglia supply the smooth muscles or glands. So the first nucleus is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So this is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus or the accessory oculomotor nucleus or visceral oculomotor nucleus. So the Edinger-Westphal nucleus is located in the upper part of the midbrain, dorsal to the rostral 2/3 of the main nucleus of the oculomotor. The preganglionic parasympathetic fibers arising from this nucleus reach the ciliary ganglion by the way of oculomotor nerve where they terminate. Next, we will see the superior salivatory nucleus and the lacrimatory nucleus. The superior salivatory nucleus and the lacrimatory nucleus are seen as indefinite clusters of small nerve cells in the dorsal part of the pons medial to the motor nucleus of the facial nerve. So, it lies medial to the motor nucleus of the facial nerve. The preganglionic fibers from the superior salivatory nucleus pass through the submandibular ganglion through the nervus intermedius, geniculate ganglion, facial nerve and its cauda tympani branch. The preganglionic fibers from the lacrimatory nucleus, they reach the pterygopalatine ganglion through the nervus intermedius and the greater superficial petrosal nerve. The next nucleus is the inferior salivatory nucleus. So, it is a small collection of nerve cells in the dorsolateral part of the pons just above its junction with the medulla. It lies immediately caudal to the superior salivatory nucleus and just above the upper end of the dorsal nucleus of the vagus nerve. So, this is the dorsal nucleus of the vagus nerve. The preganglionic fibers from the nucleus, they run in the glossopharyngeal nerve, the ninth cranial nerve, enter its tympanic branch and relay in the aortic ganglia by way of tympanic plexus and the lesser superficial petrosal nerve. Next, we'll see about the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. The purple one is the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. It is also called as the motor nucleus of the vagus. It is a long vertical column of cells extending throughout the length of the medulla, and its upper end lies deep to the vagal triangle in the floor of the fourth ventricle. When traced downward in the closed part of the medulla, it occupies the position lateral to the lateral part of the central gray matter, dorsal to the hypoglossal nerve nucleus. So, this nucleus is the main source of the parasympathetic fibers of the vagus nerve. The dorsal nucleus of the vagus is usually described as the mixed nucleus, representing the fused general visceral efferent and general visceral afferent columns. We have seen in detail about the brainstem, about all the cranial nerves except the olfactory nerve and the peripheral parasympathetic ganglion. So, these videos are in the playlist of neuroanatomy, cranial nerves and the peripheral parasympathetic ganglion. So, kindly go to the playlist tab in the channel homepage and go through all the videos.